following is a paid political announcement.
This is Marty Dolan. I ran against Jamal Bowman and AOC because I believe New York City needs to turn away from socialism after 5 years of disastrous policies. Now I'm running for public advocate so we can get New York City back to basics and focus on the municipal excellence you deserve. Go to martydolan.org to find out how you can help. I'm Marty Dolan. I approve this message, paid for by Marty Dolan for office.
It's a common sense recap of the big stories. It's Katz and Cosby on 77 WABC.
And joining us now is the former chief of Border Patrol and also former ICE director, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, Ron Vitiello. Ron, when you read this, and there was also a report recently about criminals, 425,000 with criminal records coming into our country that are at large. How concerned should we be?
Yeah, it's incredible. We should all be very concerned. The threat level that exists in the country and that has worldwide implications, but more importantly, implications to every street, city, and town in America. We have a border that's been in chaos during the pendency of the Biden-Harris administration, and we continue to hear bad facts coming out of Inspector General reports, right? This is on top of a report that they said 300,000 to 400,000 children have been released into the United States, and the government effectively does not know where they are. The government does know that they've been used in child slavery, labor slavery, and we know from UN reporting, from U.S. reporting, and from cities and towns all over the country, these kids are being exploited in horrific ways in sex slavery, because that is what happens when your border is in chaos and your streets in cities are unsafe. So, no good news coming out of the Biden-Harris White House as it relates to national security, and certainly nothing good coming out of the border, despite, the photo op that she did in Douglas, Arizona a couple of days ago.
Yeah, that was a disgrace. Her whole speech was like Orwellian, if you will. It was like another world. And everybody, we're talking to Ron Vitiello, former ICE director. Ed Cox.
Mr. Vitiello, the number of crossings on the unprotected northern border, and this is New York State, apparently are shooting up. What's being done about that?
And by the way, Ed, I just saw that story 50 times what it used to be.
Exactly.
50
Huge.
times, 50. Think about that, of the number of people who are crossing the northern border now.
Yeah, I'd like to say that the administration and the national security apparatus of the United States is in full speed mode to correct this problem and stop tens of thousands of people coming across our northern border. But the fact is, this administration has no regard for securing the border. It's amazing to me that the candidate, Kamala Harris, can act like she loves this country, that she's all of a sudden a border hawk, when, again, this bad news keeps coming from every corner of the national security apparatus, including our southwest border, now the northern border. I was the chief. That area is covered by Swanton Sector, and Swanton Sector has that eastern part of New York, upstate New York. And it's always been an active area. Motorcycle gangs, other organized crime, and then people choose that part of the border to cross because, it's close to infrastructure, it's close to the places they want to be in the United States. The good news is we have a good relationship with Canada. The bad news is that the chaos that's promoted throughout the national security apparatus by this administration continues, and again, it affects everyone that's listening to us.
And, Ron, one of the things, too, that just came out recently was on these folks who are criminals, convicted criminals, by the way, in their home countries. 13,000 are convicted murderers. 15,000 are sex offenders. And they came in, they're in our country and are at large. I mean,
so if President Biden is letting them in, does that mean President Harris would do the same thing?
Well, that's her record. That's her record. When she ran for president and when she ran for the Senate, she was for abolishing ICE and reimagining it, whatever that means. Before, she was for abolishing the police and defunding the police. So her record on this issue is very spotty. There is no reason to believe that she's going to be a hawk on the border. They've done little to nothing until the last 5 months with this executive order, after telling us for years that there wasn't a problem on the border. If there was a problem, it was Donald Trump's fault. And that they couldn't do anything without the assistance of Congress. She continues to, and her vice presidential nominee companion there, Tim Walz, keeps talking about this failed Senate bill that got no votes from Republicans and barely got Democratic support. In fact, 5 Democratic senators, including Chuck Schumer, voted no on that bill. So they keep touting it like it's some kind of solution. That was not a solution. That was a prescription to continue 1.8 million encounters, 1.8 million entries every single year into the United States. It contemplated a border shutdown at the discretion of the Secretary of Homeland Security, which we know is not able to do his job whether he wanted to or not. And then it restricted future presidents' ability to use the most powerful authority in that piece of legislation. So in the third year of implementation of that plan, the president would only be able to close the border for 180 days. Why we would write that into legislation and handcuff a future administration is only telling us that they're not serious about fixing this problem.
Judge Weinberg.
Ron, what that bill was a consumer fraud. It was a political lie, and legally what we've been doing would be ratifying all the illegal conduct of the Biden-Harris administration in failing to enforce the laws and protect and defend this country. That's what that bill would have done.
I agree with you. We've gone through 3.5 years of complete chaos at the border, which includes 300 to 400,000 children that are being exploited all over the United States. We have no idea who they are. They came here without their parents. We've seen the reports of these criminals that are all over the United States, including what Rita said, 13,000 plus criminals who are accused or convicted of murder. And we've gotten between 30 and 50,000 Chinese nationals that have come to the United States. And the department itself has said that 85% of all the encounters at the southwest border have been released into the United States. And yet we've not heard one plan from the White House to protect us from Chinese nationals who may be infiltrating our society and our culture. We've not heard one plan about how to go after the non-detained docket individuals who are convicted of serious crimes, both in the United States and abroad. Not one extra effort to try to fix what's going on at the border. They just continue to talk about it like it's someone else's problem and that the solutions lie somewhere else except in their hands.
You know,
we got 33 days to the election, and we may have 1 million listeners listening. I mean, how can they vote for Paris?
No, I agree. They've not done anything to make this problem better. Even if they believe that immigration reform was a necessary step to control this problem, they have to make this problem smaller. They've done nothing to make the problem smaller. It gets worse. The more news that comes out, the worse that it is. And you're right, 33 days, we have a choice. Both of these candidates have a record as it relates to an immigration system that has integrity, a border security regime that protects America, and a crime control or an attention to safe streets in the United States. And it's very clear which of the candidates cares and loves Americans and the people who live here.
Yeah, well said. Ron Vitiello, thank you. Thank you for your great service. We really appreciate you being with us, Ron. Have a good weekend and stay safe. Thank you.
You too. Thanks so much.